The corporate state, however, is in trouble. It has no credibility. All the promises of the free market, globalization, trickle-down economics have been exposed as a lie, an empty ideology used to satiate greed. And the elites have no counter-argument to their anti-capitalist and anti-imperialist critics. The attempt to blame the electoral insurgencies in the United States' two ruling political parties on Russian interference rather than massive social inequality is a desperate ploy. The courtiers and the corporate press are working feverishly day and night to distract us from reality. The moment the elites are forced to acknowledge social inequality as the root of our discontent is the moment they are forced to acknowledge their role in orchestrating this inequality. The US government, subservient to corporate power, has become a burlesque. The last vestiges of the rule of law are evaporating. The kleptocrats are pillaging and looting like barbarian hordes. Programs instituted to protect the common good, public education, welfare, and environmental regulations are being dismantled. The bloated military sucking the marrow out of the nation is unassailable. Poverty is a nightmare for half the people. Poor people of color are gunned down with impunity in the streets. Our prison system is filled with the destitute, and presiding over the chaos and dysfunction is a political P.T. Barnum, a president who, while we are being fleeced, offers up one bizarre distraction after another, like Barnum's Fiji mermaid. There are no shortage of artists, intellectuals, and writers, from Martin Buber and George Orwell to James Baldwin, who warned us that this dystopian era was fast approaching. But in our Disneyfied world of intoxicating and endless images, cult of the self, and willful illiteracy, we did not listen. Soren Kierkegaard argued that it was the separation of intellect from emotion, from empathy, that doomed Western civilization. For the soul has no role in a technocratic society. The communal has been shattered, the concept of the common good obliterated. Greed is celebrated, the individual is a god, the celluloid image is reality. The artistic and intellectual forces that make transcendence and the communal possible are belittled or ignored. The basest lusts are celebrated as forms of identity and self-expression. Progress is defined exclusively by technological and material advancement. And this creates a collective despair and anxiety that feeds and is fed by glitter, noise, and the false promises of consumer culture idols. The desperate or the despair grows ever worse, but we never acknowledge our existential dread. As Kierkegaard understood, the specific character of despair is precisely this: it is unaware of being despair. Those who resist are relentlessly self-critical. They ask the hard questions that mass culture, which promises an unachievable eternal youth, fame, and financial success, deflects us from asking. What does it mean to be born? What does it mean to live? What does it mean to die? How do we live a life of meaning? What is justice? What is truth? What is beauty? What does our past say about our present? How do we defy radical evil? We are in the grip of what Kierkegaard called sickness unto death, the numbing of the soul by despair that leads to moral and physical debasement. Those who are ruled by rational abstractions and an aloof intellectualism, Kierkegaard argued, are as depraved as those who succumb to hedonism, cravings for power, violence, and predatory sexuality. We achieve salvation when we accept the impediments of the body and the soul, the limitations of being human, yet despite these limitations seek to do good. This burning honesty, which means we always exist on the cusp of despair, leaves us, in Kierkegaard's words, in fear and trembling. We struggle not to be brutes while acknowledging we can never be angels. We must act and then ask for forgiveness. We must be able to see our face in the face of the oppressor. Paul Tillich did not use the word sin to mean an act of immorality. He, like Kierkegaard, defined sin as estrangement. For Tillich, it was our deepest existential dilemma. Sin was our separation from the forces that give us ultimate meaning and purpose in life. This separation fosters alienation, anxiety, meaninglessness, and despair that are preyed upon by mass culture. As long as we fold ourselves inward, embrace a perverted hyper-individualism that is defined by selfishness and narcissism, we will never overcome this estrangement. We will be separated from ourselves, from others, and from the sacred. Resistance is not only about the battling of the forces of darkness. It is about becoming a whole and complete human being. It is about overcoming estrangement. It is about the capacity to love. It is about honoring the sacred. It is about dignity. It is about sacrifice. It is about courage, and it is about being free. Resistance to radical evil is the pinnacle of human existence.